Hello, guys. Welcome to Rex Arthur and Rex Arthur Show. And we're here discussing about the issue that has just arisen in Uganda. Uganda are reviving the anti-homosexuality bill. And we know what happened when it happened in 2014 when they passed the bill. It caused a lot of mayhem in Uganda, and it caused an LGBT exodus. They ran away from Uganda and to seek asylum. And of course, they're seeking asylum. Some are still seeking asylum, and only until the time when the law was withdrawn because of a constitutional loophole. And nonetheless, it still did not change. The withdrawal of the bill did not change the resolve of the moralists in Uganda, because the president gave an excuse that there is no need of making a law that already exists in their laws, and he was depending on the colonial law of the Ugandan penal code that already criminalizes homosexuality, but it criminalizes it using the other words, the old words of homosexuality, sodomy and blah blah blah, and anything else. And so right now, of course we know the hardships that LGBT refugees face, and we are grateful to the UNHCR for helping LGBT people in Uganda and LGBT people from Uganda, because it's very tough life to live, that you are facing homophobia from not only your parents but the state. It's easier to face homophobia from people your family, but it's worse because your family. There are very many ways of maneuvering. You can run away, you can go and live with somebody, you can try and look for something to do. Of course, it's still painful because it's your family whom you love and they know you and you've lived with them for years, so it's also equally painful. But it's very much painful when it's a state that is set to flush out LGBT people. That one is now, it's bad, because now you're having double jeopardy. You get out of the house. Not only is the house, because the state owns the whole land. The whole land is in the power of the state. So if they're against you, if they're against you, and then your family is also against you, you are cooked. You're done. And even if you live that life if you live the life closeted, as I said in the other video, there are LGBT people that are closeted and out. The ones who are out, they are the ones who suffer the most. The closeted ones, they suffer internally. It's like an internal wound. You have an internal wound. No one can see you bleeding. You're internally bleeding, but externally you're okay. You look fine, and that's what happens to closeted LGBT persons. And there are very many in the world. Actually, the world has very many closeted LGBT persons, and it's only the out system and the pride system that is encouraging LGBT persons to come out. But as we know, coming out is not mandatory, but it has a lot of benefits. One of it frees you. It makes you accept yourself, and you are energized to stand for the rights of your people. But the cons of coming out are, you have to be prepared. There's a lot of backlash, and sometimes the backlash can even be fatal. There are very many trans people who have died in America. You have to be ready. And then, of course, the trans people suffer more in the LGBTQ movement because they are very pronounced. You know, you can see a gay person, he looks so-called straight, whatever that means, that you look straight, you know, you look macho, and you can go on with your life, and then you have your friend visits you, no qualm, no problem. Ladies, in fact, ladies, it's even very easy. You know, in Nazi Germany, they killed the homosexual men, but lesbians were not, they didn't really suffer because it's not very easy to to implicate a lesbian of any issue, incidents, you know, criminal incident, so-called criminal incident. But in with homosexuality, it's a bit tough because they, when the police get you, they even want to examine your anus because they have already, and it's so weird when someone is examining your anus. How does he know that it has been penetrated unless he does it also? Unless they've done enough studies of that. So those are the trials and tribulations. They are very unique to in the LGBTQ movement. And so that's what happened to Ugandans, and they ran away to leave Uganda and go and stay in to be resettled in other countries. The only problem they face with the UN system is that the UN system is a very slow system. It's a transit system whereby you stay in a camp, or you stay with them, you stay under the UN watch for some time, because there's a processing that has to happen with the country you're going to be resettled in. And the only problem I have with that is that it's so bureaucratic, because it takes time to do everything. Secondly, you are sometimes where you are doing your transit is a country that is a bit homophobic, or they get to know you are gay, and then they also vent out their homophobia. And the only advantage is if you're in a country that doesn't have state homophobia. Yes, you may face, of course, you'll face local homophobia from the locals, especially if you're open, you know, if you're out. But generally, you will not face state homophobia if it's a state that doesn't have a law like what Uganda did. Uganda already has a law, and most African countries do have those laws, colonial laws. But what Uganda wanted to do, it is to reinforce the anti-homosexuality sentiment. So that one is dangerous. It's worse than having the colonial law, because, you know, most colonial laws in Africa are never followed. They are never kept. They are just there, dusty. You look at, if you have time, just go to the library and see. You'll be shocked. There are laws that we don't even know. We don't even know, and they exist. They are laws. And the only most important law to know is the constitution of your country and other countries. So I think the only thing, I'm doing this video because I have very many LGBT refugee friends of mine, and I know they go through, it is sad life. It's not easy. You're away from home, you're running away, then you face homophobia again. You know, all you want to do is just get out. You know, just get out. And then you go, the UN system, as I told you, is too bureaucratic. Too bureaucratic. What I mean by bureaucratic, it's very high. You know, it's very aloof. So people are not able to express themselves. They are not able to get help because they are timed. You know, everything is timed. And that's the only thing, the only problem I have with Western systems. They are not that flexible to help people. And people have very many issues. You're supposed to open up issues. I mean, be very flexible, you know, because love is flexible. That's my view. But you know, most machineries, state machineries and organizations and institutions are not human. They are artificial. So they're artificial persons. And an artificial person works by a system, structured instructions. So if it is to help somebody, there is a certain way it should be done, and it is done that way. There's no human touch. It's very little human touch. So that's the problem we have with many refugees face, and so their transit becomes a horrific one. Then they get to their resettlement, and their settlement, and it is also horrific. And this is the reason why I'm doing this video. I have a suggestion. I prefer fast systems, because there is no way somebody can run away from his country. You know, there's this thing some Westerners have. They have this view that everyone in Africa wants to come to the West, and it's not so. It is not so. It is actually, there are some Africans they would rather die in Africa. They love their life in Africa, and even if the West is developed, they don't look at it, because people value life differently. So I'm the pro-immigration guy who is like, if you want to leave your country, leave. Actually, I'm a very, very liberal man, and I don't hide it. I would even have, if I was the head of Unhcr, I would have a system whereby in every country, UN has 50 planes. Yes, you need money. We better go. And I have beef also with rich people. They are not rich enough. Not yet. No. We don't even have a quadrillionaire in the 21st century. We are lagging. The world is lagging. We don't have rich people. We need rich people. Stinking rich organizations. You know, the American budget, look at it. It's not even a 1 quadrillion. And so there's something wrong. Yeah. You cannot have a system that is 1 trillion. Then you have debt that is in trillion. You've never even reached quadrillion. Oh, personally, I know it's a lot of money, but you could do better. You know why? Mathematics has helped us. We can even hit sextillion, and nobody's a sextillionaire. Nobody. So there's something wrong with the economic system. The rich people are not really that rich, because what is wealth? Is wealth the amount of money you have, or the amount of assets? Yes. And if it is the value, like now how Forbes does it, then it means we just have billionaires. Well, it's a lot of money, because a billionaire can, their countries, their GDP is, you can even combine 3 countries, and it's worth, their GDP is worth that billionaire's wealth. And that country has over 100 million people. Those 3 countries together, over 100 million people. So over 100 million people cannot surpass the wealth of 1 person. So that's how weird and unequal the world is. But we're not doing an Oxfam video. We are doing